Denise,
What?
where are you?
I'm waiting for you to direct me to my seat.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
Well, that's what a director does. And we've got Jonathan Brough this morning doing a one-on-one about directing.
Oh, thank God he's here to help you. Now sit down.
God, all right. You're a rubbish director. Jonathan Brough's a leading Kiwi director, but he's made some of Australia's best comedies. Think Rosehaven, The Family Law, It's a Date, for starters. And he's going to offer a very practical session today, breaking down scenes from some of his shows. Hello, Jonathan. Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, Denise. Nice to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Just briefly, how did you get started in the gig of director?
Oh, look, it's always an interesting question, isn't it? I come from a small town in New Zealand, but my family were always interested in amateur theatre, so I grew up doing a whole lot of that. Did theatre in my teens, did a theatre degree in New Zealand because I couldn't actually do a film degree because there really wasn't such a thing. At the time, there were only a couple of film programs attached to art schools. I started working kind of around the edges of the industry in Wellington in the early 90s, which was a really good time. There was an enormous amount going on. Obviously, Peter Jackson was starting his run. It was just a really great time and place to be there with some great people. We just made lots of shorts. This is pre-internet, obviously. We just made lots of shorts, had a bit of success, kept making shorts, kept at it, did lots of different jobs, bits and pieces within the industry mainly. I was a location manager, I was a runner, I did camera assisting, did some AD work. And then it wasn't until I was actually in my early 30s that I got my first actual proper drama directing job for television. I'd done quite a lot of work before that. And then there was a show called The Insider's Guide to Happiness, which was, a fantastic show and a real gift to have as my first one. And then it just all kind of kept going from there, really. Started making inroads in Australia about 10 years ago, moved over full-time about 8 years ago, and been working pretty much consistently ever since. So, yeah, it's been a long game, but it's, that's what it is, as we'll touch on later, I'm sure.
We definitely will. But look, let's get underway with the work of today, which is
Sure.
as I said, a very practical session. And it's so good that we're breaking down scenes, because I think it'll be really, really useful to people. And just to say to our audience, you can go back and look at the scenes again and again and again, but we're going to play the scene and then discuss it. So we're going to start with Rosehaven, which was an absolute standout hit for the ABC. And basically it tells the story of two friends in Tasmania, Daniel and Emma, and it's actually written and performed by two real-life besties, Celia Bacola and Luke McGregor.
That's right, and Luke is a very proud Tasmanian, and he's from a real estate family. So, there's a lot of truth going on in there. And also, I don't think Luke and Celia would mind me saying this, but I mean, the characters are in some ways extensions of themselves. And it's their friendship of the two of them that really carries the whole show.
And their friendship's very clear in the scene we're about to see. So let's have a look at it. But first, what are you pointing our audience to that they should be watching out for while they're watching this scene go through?
Yeah, just what are we going to look for in this one? Just have a think about when you're watching it. Have a think about pace, have a think about tension, and have a think about what you're seeing and when you see it, which all sounds remarkably cryptic, but it's, look, it's something to get us started anyway. You'll see once you've watched.
I can't stand it.
What?
The way you eat.
What do you mean?
I hate the way you eat.
Why?
You sound like a horse walking. I never know whether you're having a sandwich or there is a cowboy coming.
Well, you've never had a problem with it before.
I know, and I hate that I do now. Is this what happens when you spend too much time with someone?
No, it's fine. When you drink your tea, you go, makes me want to throw the tea in your face.
It's a bit harsh.
I'll wait till it cool down.
Thanks.
Oh yeah.
Nom, nom, nom. Nom, nom. Oh, those two together are just amazing. What a great scene.
Yeah.
Now, we have talked about it, you and I, but tell me what are the things that you take out of that scene? Why is it important? Tell me about it.
I'm a great believer in the fact that you quite literally train your audience how to watch the show in the first 15 seconds, maybe the first 30 seconds, but I think it's even shorter than that, probably the first 15. So, and I've tried a lot of permutations of this over the years, and I think it just gets truer and truer. You are literally saying to your audience when they see those first few frames, this is the kind of show you're watching. So in this one, clearly what we're saying is pay attention. You're not going to get spoon-fed this. You're going to have to pay attention and work a few things out for yourself. And so you can see that we approach the scene quite slowly. I mean, literally after those first couple of aerials of very, very cold, wintry Tasmania, kind of nothing happens. There's someone's eating toast and someone else is eating toast. And so you, for a start, you go, oh, okay, all right, what's going on? And so you instinctively get that in your head. And you'll see, I mean, I've done that in pretty much all the shows I've done, but you approach it in different ways depending on what the show is. And it all goes to talk about the style. So convenient segue. So, this was the first season of Rosehaven. And so obviously what we're trying to do when we set up a show that hasn't been made before is establish what the style is. So there's a few factors in that. There's the tone. And when you're making a comedy, you want it to be funny. But the big question there is, what kind of funny do you want it to be? What kind of laughs do you want to get? What do you want people to laugh at, and what don't you want them to laugh at? Where's the style of the comedy and where's the humour? There's also the visual side of it as well. How are we going to make it look, and what are our visual rules and the rules of our visual tone? And so those are always crucial to me because, for a long time people thought the comedies could just look shitty. Didn't matter, people are just being funny, just do whatever, it'll be fine. But comedies need to look beautiful as well. I think that's something certainly that Rosehaven achieved.
Yes.
So to go further on that, in terms of the actual guidelines that we did for these kind of touchstones that we put together for Rosehaven, normally I try and find 4 or 5 just very simple things that we can go, that's the show. So for a start, obviously the show is about 2 people, 2 friends. So where we started with there was a 2-shot. So what we want to do as much as we possibly can is see the 2 of them in the same frame at the same time. And that's a really good, sounds very basic, but it's a really, really good starting point. And you can see in this scene, that's exactly what we do. We start with a 2, we're shooting in slightly in widescreen, we're in 220, which is almost CinemaScope, which is a lovely frame for composing within. So we start with a 2-shot, we go to an over shoulder of Luke, but it's almost a 2-shot as well because he's almost profile. And then obviously we come out just to the wider one at the end. So that was one of our rules. And there were various other ones just in terms of what kind of lenses we were using and what lengths of lens we were using, because we always shoot on primes. So we were using the wider lenses. We would very rarely go long. That gives it a whole different feel. We would try and use camera moves that were only quite seriously motivated. We had certain rules about when we would move the camera and when we wouldn't. So we just tried to work out all the way through how we would do these things. And another one is also, I just love seeing what's around people as well. I'm not a close-up guy, a little bit more classic in my approach than that. So I also love seeing people's environments. And you'll see particularly in the last shot in this one that you just see you get a lovely sense of the environment as well.
And you also do a beautiful reveal, because that's one of the things.
Which still makes me laugh, which is dumb because I know what's going to happen, right? But it still makes me laugh. So, for people looking at comedy directing, the reveal is one of the most potent things you can have in your pocket. It's an ancient technique, obviously, and you can use it in a million different ways. But it's all a question of what you're trying to do as a director is show people what you want them to see when you want them to see it. And this is a classic example of that. So we could have cut the scene so that Barbara was sitting there the whole time. And it still would have been a funny scene. But clearly what we get at the end of that is we get a big laugh with the kind of them just being complete dickheads. And then you get an even bigger one when you step out again to see Barbara, who says nothing. But it's still a really great big laugh at the end. So the reveal is an incredibly potent thing. And the scene was designed around that reveal.
Okay.
But I think there's maybe 4 shots in the whole scene. I think it's very simple.
And did you let them do lots of takes?
We did do quite a lot of takes. This is part of my way of working, and certainly a fairly common comedy way of working is because you never quite know what you're going to get. And so I tend to do less shots and more takes. You'll see from most of my work that it's not particularly shot heavy. I mean, obviously in certain shows we work different styles, but what I like to do is set up a world within which people can work and can kind of be very free. So we try and structure the whole on-set feel like that. We try and get the crew to be very aware of that. So it's about the actors and not the crew, all of those things. And yes, I mean, we probably did 7 or 8 or 9 takes of that first part of it at the very least, because the guys were horsing around and they kind of got warmed up. I think the take then in there is maybe take 3. I think we might change takes when we change that shot. I can't quite remember, it was a while ago. But yes, I do. I do like to give them plenty of room to move, because you never quite know what you're going to get. And being on set is not just about execution, it's about invention as well. So you've always got to make sure that you leave yourself that room for invention. You might have a plan, but if something suggests it, you suddenly go, oh, that's going to be better. Or in fact, you know what? If anyone has an idea and you think, oh, that's going to be better, you have to try and give yourself the flexibility to be able to go, let's do that. That's just better. The best idea is the best idea. Let's do it. So, I think it's very important.
Cool. That's great. And like I said, go back now and have a look at that scene again after Jonathan's talk, but not while we're continuing talking.
Not now. No, not now.
Not
no.
now. Later.
Stay focused. Stay focused.
Okay. The second show that we're looking at today is actually really different in the sense that it's called Sammy, Jay and Randy and Ricketts Lane, because although it's still about flatmates, it's largely a musical comedy and features a puppet.
Features a non-human, that's right.
The Bureau of Statistics are sadistic and deranged. They're back here asking questions, but our answers haven't changed.
So you see that there's the musical number, and then there's a little scene after that. I want you to look at that very closely and look at that second scene and see how it's shot.
Pissing on our soul with every question that they ask, because my salary's gone backwards and my marriage ran aground, and I feel like drinking poison when the census comes to town. What's a dwelling? Don't ask me, I'm still stuck on question 3. Assets? I've got herpes. What's my surname? Jay. How's your sex life? Null and void. Occupation? Unemployed. Relationship? Not technically. What's stalker? Nice. Superannuation? Occupation? Any further education? Origin of gender orientation? Net worth? Date of birth? Language spoken at home? Anglaise. Income? Health fund? TV? License? Garden? Power? Method of sewerage? Landline? Livestock? Heating? Windows? Livestock? Livestock? Yeah, livestock. Kids? Cash? Pets? Cars? Bikes? Beds? Doors? Roof? Rooms? Yard? Bills? Gas? We've got nothing, but the bastards make us write it down. And I feel like such a failure. And I feel like such a wanker. And I feel like such a dead shit when the census comes to town. Hey!
Married?
No.
Children?
No.
Religion?
No.
War service?
Yes.
What war were you in?
The war on terror?
You were not in the war on terror.
We're on the war on terror!
Love it.
Oh.
I'm a bit in love with Randy, I've got to tell you.
Randy's a very extraordinary person, and when you start working with Randy, you never find yourself talking to Randy's assistant, Heath. You always find yourself actually talking to Randy himself, which is really weird. But that's kind of what happens. Even I would just direct Randy.
Okay, well, should we start with Randy? Because there's lots of things coming out of that. And I know you want to talk about the importance of a plan and the change of tone. But tell me about Randy and how you did that visual effect.
So we had the scene where they sing and dance and they walk across the room and they throw breakfast things to each other because they only ever eat ham and cheese focaccias. And then we cut dead at the end of the song to them sitting around the table, filling in the census form. So that's the scene I really wanted to concentrate on. So it's a very simple scene. It's a loose 2-shot. It's a big loose 2-shot with the two of them sitting at the table. And then it cuts to Randy as Sandy goes off in a huff to the bedroom behind it. So there's a few things I just want to talk about in that. So first of all is the potency of the pace change, which is very obvious. You've got an all guns blazing song and dance number, which is actually the first musical number in the show, in the whole show, because this is in episode 1. And so what we're doing a very conspicuous phase change there. So we're saying this section of the show is over and we're starting something new. And we kind of get into something which is actually almost more a kind of drama, perversely a kind of drama segment. So it's important when you're making, whether it's shorts, whether it's web stuff, or whether it's longer form, that you always consider the pace changes within the episode or the piece or whatever it is you're making, because they can be very, very strong. And so we cut there, we don't rush it, we cut and we conspicuously pause. It plays out very, very slowly with the two of them. And then when Sammy storms off, we see just Randy in the foreground going, which is a fantastic frame as well. So there's a few things going on there. Now, obviously, Randy is operated by a human. I hate to shatter your illusions. So you can see in the wide shot, there's no one there. So what we did in that was a very, very, very incredibly old school special effect where we simply locked the frame so the camera didn't move, and we shot it with Randy's assistant Heath lying on the floor, operating Randy, and then we just took him out and did a plate, which is a clean frame, and then we just put the clean plate on top of where he was, so he disappears. Now that technique is as old as cinema itself, and so it's a really nice simple one. The one thing I like about it is it doesn't draw attention to itself. You can actually watch the scene and someone can say to you, so how's Randy work? And you'll go, oh, I didn't even think about that. Because what we're trying to do in the show is make Randy land as an actual person, as an actual entity. And to me, the most successful visual effects are the ones that you don't notice, where it just makes you buy something in a better way. When we shot the scene, we literally only shot those 2 shots for the scene. That's an interesting illustration of you can't shoot them all. Traditionally, if you were shooting that traditional dramaturgy, you'd shoot the 2-shot, you'd probably shoot a tighter 2, you'd shoot that size on Randy, you'd shoot a close-up as well, you'd shoot over shoulder back on Sammy, you'd shoot a close-up as well. Now, I don't work that way. It's a matter of time, but it's also a matter of choice, because to me, a show is not made in the edit room. Some people think we just collect the shots on set and then we'll make it in the edit. Now, for me, I like to have a stronger plan than that, because I think it can lead to much more interesting things on set. I mean, I do remember distinctly when I shot that scene, the script supervisor saying to me, you don't want any more shots? I'm like, no, that's what we need, So I think, I can't say be sure of what you want all the time, because anyone who's directed knows that never really is the case. Yeah. But have a plan, and have a pretty good idea. And that kind of links back to what we were talking about with these guidelines. If you have your rules, then you can latch onto them and go, no, that's good. That's what we need. That's how it's meant to feel. In a purely cynical fashion as well, if you're doing a show where you don't have final cut, if you have producers who tend to like getting in there and chopping it up, if they don't have a shot, they can't cut to it. Sorry, producers, don't listen to that. I would never have said that.
Jonathan,
but I know, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking, but you can't use a shot that you don't have. Yeah.
I think we should move on to the next one before you.
I think you should probably cut that out, because my career is over, so we might as well keep going.
Totally cut that out. No.
We might as well keep going.
Okay,
all right, which one's next? Are we doing Ronnie Cheng next? Right.
Ronnie Cheng next. He's
the story
of the marvellous Malaysian student who came to Australia to study, get good marks, and to make his mum very proud.
Yes, all of which he did, actually. All of which is true. Yeah, all of which is true.
There was looked like there was a couple of glitches on the way if you watch this scene that we're going to watch in a minute. Now, this is a far more technically complicated scene, I think you were saying.
This is a more technical one. This is a table scene. Now, a lot of directors get a bit nervous about table scenes, whether people are having dinner or they're at a party or it's a meeting or it's a courthouse or something like that. So this is.
Just get them to watch.
Yeah, let's have a look at it. Yeah, look at it as a table scene.
Yeah.
And have a think about where people are looking and in particular how you know where people are, and then we'll have a chat about that once we've watched.
Okay, listen up. This is called a boat race. You drink a beer, put the empty glass on your head, and then the next person does the same. The first team to finish all 4 pints wins. Got it?
Got it. Or what if you start drinking before the other person?
You'd be disqualified.
What if you don't finish the beer before you put on your head?
Disqualified.
What if beer?
Holy shit, you finish your beer and then the next person finishes their beer, all right? It's really not that complicated.
Wei Jung, on your marks, get set, drink!
Yeah.
Sorry, my fault. I should have said, take a deep breath before you drink, and then once you start, whatever you do, don't take a second breath.
This is bullshit. Oliver Lance doesn't know what she's talking about. Tell me why again we do this?
Believe it or not, this is actually the easiest way to get a textbook. And also, if we don't win the drinking competition, we're gonna have to run naked in the next lecture.
So you turned us into strippers?
No, we're not gonna strip. because we're gonna win.
Wait, Jun, you okay?
Oh, it's a fine. Is it what happened when we drinking beer?
Yeah, like I said, we don't have the liver enzyme.
Guys, the key to excessive drinking is simple. You just need to focus on something you fear and then drink to make it disappear. Right? Let's try it.
So we're going to talk about all sorts of things, but my first question is this. It's a complicated scene, so did you storyboard it?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I storyboard sometimes. Generally, I only storyboard when it's something with quite a lot of complicated visual effects in it, because it just helps. It helps the whole process for everyone involved. I mean, storyboarding is really, really time consuming. It's very, very hard to get right. I do sometimes do them kind of for myself, just if I've got a particularly complicated scene. I have a wonderful example here. You can see to what finesse that I do them, Denise. This is one for a show that actually hasn't gone to air in Australia yet, called The End, and I think you've got a file of this so you can show people. But this is one of my amazing.
To the end.
This is one of my amazing storyboards here. So I actually just use them as a kind of process thing, and you'll see how completely incomprehensible they are. What I do, convenient segue yet again, is I do floor plans.
What's the difference for the ignorance among us?
Well, a floor plan is literally just a top-down thing. This is one for Rosehaven, which I did for last season. And so this was in a, we've got a big real estate conference in season 4. So this is in the bar, and we had all these vignettes that we had to go through. So I just worked out where everyone, this is a top-down look, and I just worked out where everyone was going to be. Can you see it closer? Yeah.
That's better. Now show me again what that one shows.
Now you can see. So basically, we've got a big bar area, and we've got a couple of people up here, and they're up here for that part of the scene. Then someone walks over here, or maybe it's the other way around, I can't see. And there's a group down here that someone walks down to. So we had this whole roaming thing. And so floor plans are great because they just make sense of things for you and make sure you're not going to repeat yourself or get stuffed on the day, but they don't lock you in really to what you're doing. And sometimes with storyboards, you can get a little locked in. This is another one. This was this is actually for the same scene, but this is around a table. So they all end up around a big table at a conference. And you see, I've tried another version of it down here, but just to work out where everyone is and which way they're pointing, just to make sure that everyone's going to relate to each other properly.
Because I noticed when we were talking about this prior to doing this record, you talked about how important table placings and...
So it's really, really important. I always plan where people are at a table beforehand. I think there's nothing worse than standing in front of a crew and the cast blocking a scene and you don't know where people are sitting. It's just... There are so many permutations to it, and you can make a scene so much better if you know, like, well, if this person's sitting next to this person, we can get this little thing going on. And if they're opposite to them, we can get this thing going on. If it's diagonal, they can't reach them, and we'll get this thing going on. So, it's very, very important to have that worked out beforehand, to me. Table scenes are often put up as exercises for directors because there's a whole dreaded crossing the line issue that comes up. But really, as long as you've established the geography of where people are fairly early on, then your mind kind of fills in the gaps. And you'll see, if you look back at the Ronnie one, that we break the rules all the time in it. So the line crosses are now they're really not a big deal.
Yeah, cool. The other thing that we were going to talk about too from that scene is how you made her go red in the face.
So we will work out where we get to in the scene, and we just shoot up to that point, and we know that everything to that point is without red cheeks, and everything after that point is with red cheeks. So we basically just divide the scene into little sections. It's a bit painful to shoot and a little bit counterintuitive, but once you've done it a few times, you get completely used to where these things kind of have to happen. Yeah. You can use the same technique for animals. I did something a few months ago where we had a scorpion, where we had to do that, and also a rabbit. So it's just a question, again, going back to that original guiding principle of it's only what you see on screen when you need to see it. Cool. And it's the same also when you're choreographing fights and stuff like that with stunt people. So it's kind of the same principle.
Perfect. All right. Now, the last one we're going to do today is a personal favourite, The Family Law. I bloody love The Family Law. It's a good show. For those who haven't seen it, about 3 of you, I hope, a typical family story with trials and tribulations from a book by Benjamin Law, who's actually guesting on Running Freely soon. Yes, about
how nice.
Family story. I know. I love
it. We know a little bit about that.
Oh my God. So what are our audience looking for while they watch this scene? Because it's a great hell of a scene, this one.
So this scene is almost at the end of episode 1 of season 1. So we're very early on, and there's a whole lot of threads in the air when we come into this. A whole lot of things have been going on through the episode, there's been a lot of tensions. What happens in the scene after this is that Jenny kicks Danny, the father, out of the house. So this is really bringing things to a climax. So have a look at how many storylines you can discern that are actually carried through this and kind of how we're doing it.
Okay, listen up. Melissa, focus. Those guys were nothing. We can nail this. You with us, Russell? No. What?
Workday wonderful, ladies and gentlemen.
Break a leg. Bit insensitive, don't you think?
And next up, with their rendition of the classic hit, Watermelon Man, Sacred Heart's very own wind-filled wonders, Tutti Frutti!
That family. What we discussed talking about was things like how to use extras, how to get the dove shots working.
Yeah.
And you mean, like you said to me, I think you shot this in one day.
I think we did. I kind of blocked it out, but I actually think it must have been 2 days. It has to have been 2 days because it's so massive. But it was very quick anyway. I mean, look, that's the thing, about television, that if anyone's thinking particularly of going into television, it's fast, so you do have to have your wits about you. It's fairly static. The one saving grace of it and actually being able to get it done is it's fairly static. We have the stage and we have the people sitting in the audience. I arranged the people sitting in the front row, which is the family, so that when Danny comes in, Danny has got a dumpster. Danny's been in a dumpster.
He looks like...
I can't quite remember why, but he stinks. So when he comes in, he smells. So what I wanted to do was make sure he walked across the front of everybody else so that they got the smell of him and that he could trip and almost destroy things. And, so we did it. We lined them up for that reason. We've got Ben waiting nervously off stage. We've got Melissa, who's terrified of birds. We've got their offsider, whose name eludes me, who can't hear very well. There's a whole lot of things going on. And we've also got the reveal of the watermelon suits, which we've kept very carefully hidden all the way through, so we don't actually know what that is. So that's a reveal like we talked about there. So there's a lot going on. I mean, the visual effect, we've got a visual effect where Melissa, the bird, actually flies down into her face. So this is a good example of kind of trying to work to your strengths. We know what things want to look like, but one of the tricks of directing, because it's very much a problem-solving job, particularly in television, is that you just think, how can we make this the best with what we've got? And so with the bird, when it flies down off the lighting grid, that's actually a stock image of a dove shot against blue screen that we just bought off a site. It was like $90 or something. And so we thought, well, that'll work. It was just actually flying in the stock, flying straight across the screen like that. And we just gave it a bit of a move, gave it a bit of a shape. And so we based the whole effect around this very cheap but great piece of stock footage, which we would never have been able to achieve by ourselves. We had an actual dove, which we put up in the lighting grid. So that was just shot on its own. We had the dove in Melissa's face, which was literally just held there for like 3 seconds and it fluffed around and then we let it go. But then we based the whole thing around this this thing that we bought that we would never have been able to generate ourselves. And that works really well. It's a 22 frame shot or something like that, but it really sets it off.
Half a day on its own just to get...
Oh, we could never have done it because we would have had to set it. Yeah, look, it would have been absolutely impossible. Or we would have had a really bad looking CGI dove or something. Yeah. So, you know, there's so much wonderful stock around that it's kind of a great way to do it. And, you know, so we reverse engineered the whole gag, basically.
So we're just about out of time. I can't believe it, but I've got 2 more questions. Good questions for you before you go. Where do wannabe directors start?
Where do they start? Well, you have to start with yourself, obviously. I mean, still the best thing to do as much as you can is just make things, you know, and look, you don't even have to make them to be seen by other people. Just, you know, shoot 2 shots, cut them together. Honestly, you know, try to shoot yourself, try to do some editing yourself, because that's crucial. My early career was as an editor early on, and it's an incredibly useful thing. Try and do some acting, you know, because then you'll know what actors are up against and what they're feeling and what their vulnerabilities are and what they need to know and what they don't need to know. But I think the most important thing is just keep making stuff, and don't think that everything you make is going to be the greatest thing ever. The thing that you should be thinking as soon as you've finished something and getting it out there is, right, okay, what's next? Let's make something else. So you just got to keep doing it, and you'll just get better and better. It's a long game, you know, and so you just got to keep practicing and keep practicing. Good,
perfect advice. Last question. You said that there's a couple of things that you've been watching recently, which have, you know, you're always inspired by things, but there was a couple in particular that were pushing your buttons.
There were a couple of shows in particular recently which I just love, and I would really, you know, I hope people would watch. There's a show on Netflix called Giri Haji. It's a Japanese Yakuza thriller set in London. One of the directors on it is Ben Chessel, who's an Aussie lad who did an absolutely beautiful job. I'd love people to have a look at it because it's very dramatic, it's very stylish, but it's also very funny at the same time. And I think particularly if you want to direct comedy, you have to always be watching things with a view to tone. How do they make it feel like this? What do they use to make it feel in this way? Because feel and tone in comedy is everything. You have to be able to work out what kind of laughs you want to get and what kind of laughs you want people to be laughing at. So I would highly recommend that one. That one's on Netflix. And the other one that I'm absolutely loving at the moment is The New Pope, which is on SBS On Demand. It's an Italian series with John Malkovich as an English bishop who, by slightly nefarious means, becomes the Pope. It's 6,000% Italian in its kind of Fellini-esque way, but what it does is it never settles for anything ordinary. It's constantly surprising. It messes with things all the time. It's beautifully and extremely inventively and boldly shot. So I'd highly recommend that people watch that and just look at each scene and go, what's the camera doing? Who are we seeing? Who are we hearing? And what's the camera doing? Because honestly, it's a delight to watch it. I'm just loving that one. So both of those, they're currently the top of my list, and both very serious at times, but also extremely funny as well.
Well, I'm going to get out of here and go and watch them right away. But in the meantime, I'm going to say a huge thank you to you, Jonathan. It's been terrific.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Anytime.
And to those watching, thank you so much again for watching. Don't forget, there's loads and loads of other skills that we've done sessions on the same YouTube channel. Have a look. If you want to know more about what we do at Media Mentors, it's mediamentors.com.au. Have a check. And in the meantime, catch you next time. Thanks for watching.
See ya.